guys, welcome back to another video. We're up early and over here now at Belcher Engineering, dropping off the C3 Corvette. If you've seen our last video, you'll know all about this and you'll have seen me spraying it. Yeah, ultimately we put it back together and dropped it off this morning, and yeah, looks really good. So we're now going to introduce you guys to Belchers, who we work with quite a lot on a lot of different projects, and give you a little bit of a workshop tour. You can meet James, meet some of his team, and see some of the absolutely awesome cars they deal with here. Come with me and let's have a little look at their workshop. Hello James.
Hello mate, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right.
How's things? Nice and toasty in here?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, it's nice and warm in here compared with outside.
That's where you hide away for most of the time.
Yeah.
This is lovely. Good. So this is your main office?
So yeah, this is sort of like a counter office really for, we sell a lot of car parts, American car parts, vintage Ford car parts.
Awesome.
So yeah, we get a lot of customers coming to pick up items. So for everything from wheel bearings to, well, even complete engines. Sometimes we're doing that as well. So a complete range of items, service items, and the rest of it for their cars.
Awesome. Endless stock list, really.
I'm
surprised it's not more full of boxes of bits. You've done a heck of a job keeping it nice and clean.
It's relatively. Relatively. It's not always as nice as this. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
all good.
Someone tells me you're going to give us a little tour of your workshop.
Yeah, happy to, mate. Happy to. Yeah, we've got quite a lot on the go at the moment.
Awesome.
There's usually a lot of different stuff going on. We have various cars, everything from really early pre-war cars right up to relatively modern cars coming through. Not really too cool. Modern.
Not too modern.
We try to sort of yeah. We sort of try and. Well, we do work on cars with ECUs and stuff like that, but we try to sort of really pre-2000 is our kind of strongest point really, our sweet spot for it. But yeah, let's go and have a look around and I'll show you what's going on.
What you've got for us, yeah. Let's go. Awesome.
We'll start off with this big beast. But let's go and have a look inside and see what's going on.
Awesome. That's so cool. And you're saying this is actually a coroner's car, not a hearse.
So this is the mourners. Where they travel behind the hearse effectively.
Of course, right.
Although it's very similar to a hearse, and it's a big 472 cubic inch, so it's like 8 litre Cadillac.
All of the fuel mileage and all of the environmental.
Yeah. We put that to one side. So I don't know what it gets, but probably about 8 or 9 maybe on a good day to the gallon, I would assume. But yeah, we redid the entire engine. So we took it in, we took all the engine out, chemically cleaned, stripped down, chemically cleaned.
Nice. All
new pistons, new valves. I mean, doing it properly. So yeah, we did all that. Got it done. The gentleman took it away, had it for a few months. Then because the engine was all redone, I think it ripped part of the prop shaft apart later on. So it came back, and we did some further work on sorting that out. And then it's come back for a third time. We got a message saying it wasn't running very well. And when you've done an engine, you're like always a bit fearful because
you don't want the worst to happen.
What's going on? Yeah. So you're a little bit nervous, but it came back. It was the ignition system, which we hadn't really done. We just we done the core of the engine, but we hadn't done any of the ancillaries. But when we sort of consulted with the customer, he wanted to have a better ignition system on it. So we put a high energy ignition system on there, which will ultimately make it run a lot better anyway. Get a better spark out of it.
Cool.
Now we're just going through and doing. Replacing some of the door rubbers to stop it leaking, again on his request. Once that's done, I think within the next day or so that should all be done and dusted, and able to get his car back in time for the spring.
Able to enjoy it.
Go cruising along in what is a Goliath of a machine, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be a passenger, sat or laying in the back of that. That must be the most comfortable thing. You can fall asleep quite happily in there. Draw the curtains, night sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a big beast, and it's got a cracking noise.
Yeah, what else you got going on? There's a little MGB
we'll
V8
move along here.
So this one, James, is a little bit different to your typical American stuff. But am I right in saying it's an MGB GT V8, but Sebring?
That's exactly right.
Is that what this is?
Yeah. Basically, that's what the car is, what the car is based on anyway. So it's got a Rover V8 in it. So relatively small compared with some of the cars we get. So it's only three
Compared
and
to that.
a half litre, this particular one, but it's a lot lighter, obviously, and a lot more sporty. I used to have an MGB a few years ago with a V8 in it, and they're a lot of good fun.
Yeah.
The customer's fairly new to us, so sort of new engagement, which is good. And he's brought it to us because it's not running very well, it's misfiring and hesitating under speed, it's leaking fuel all over the engine as well, so he didn't want to get too far.
All the things you don't want your MGB to be doing.
Exactly that. It's a Holly 4-barrel carb on there. So we'll get into that, have a look, and get it sort of running and sorted out correctly.
Awesome.
The customer wants a bit of a health check, we'll go over it as well.
Yeah.
I can see a few things that may or may not come up. There's the wiring is perhaps, and we get that a lot with older vehicles, some of the wiring is a little bit scary.
Yeah. I think that's fairly common though, like you say, with classic cars. I mean, there's people that, which is great, don't get me wrong, but there's an element of DIY enthusiasm sometimes, and people get a little bit carried away with it, and then you end up causing more damage than good. But ultimately, that's what it's about.
Well,
I think.
there's a lot of passion goes into them. Yeah, there's a lot of passion.
You're not setting fire to anything.
A lot of passion goes into enthusiasm, and you've got cars that are often very, very old. They can be 30, 40, 50 years old, and sometimes they even have a lot of the original wiring that's been in there. It's all and they're cloth wired and they're falling apart. The challenge, in particular with things like wiring, is it's a big labour-intensive process to redo it all.
Yeah.
So it doesn't tend to get done very often.
It's one of those things that can seem quite simple, but is extremely time consuming.
Yeah, it's a good sort of 2 weeks worth of work really to do it properly with everything being done. When we do it, we don't use the sort of Halfords connectors, as I call them, the blue connectors that go together. They're all proper heat shrink and they're all done neatly, and it's doing it right. Yeah. So we can go and put our name to it.
Doesn't look like a lot has been achieved, but I think it's
that's a very good point. It's a very good point. It doesn't look like a lot.
No, it doesn't look like a lot, but it is mega, and I think wiring is quite satisfying because it's something about neatly tucking all the wires and shrinking them up and plugging them in and having something so sort of finicky placed in such an orderly fashion that
it does tidy things up and gets it safer. So things can happen, but usually it's just sort of bits and bobs, tidying it up and just getting it somewhere. But yeah, we're looking forward to getting stuck into this one. Hopefully,
awesome.
Probably tomorrow or the day after, we'll get into actually getting that one looked at and report back to the customer on what we find. Really,
let's get stuck.
Let's look at some other engines. Let's look at some bigger engines.
Yeah, let's go for it. And this small block Ford V8 Mustang.
Very good. Yeah, that's to go in a Mustang, and we've got a new, in this case, a new blueprint engine. Customer's a long-term customer. We've got his Morris in the workshop. We've got his Mustang in the workshop.
Awesome.
Two completely different types of car in that scenario. And he came in end of last year saying that I think his car needed a service. It's got a bit of a misfire going on. And upon investigation, it's basically leaking oil around one of the pistons and sort of blacking up the plugs. Yeah. So we gave him the option. We could, repair, restore, recondition his existing engine that he's got there, which is a 289, so 4.7 litre. Yeah. Or the other option was to have a new engine. Ultimately, gone for this blueprint 5 litre 302 engine, nice. So which will be a bit quicker. So nothing dramatic, but I think it's about 350, 360 horsepower.
So poke for that, isn't
it? It'll go along nicely, and at the same time we're putting a Tremec 5-speed gearbox into it, and we're sort of tidying up the engine bay. We'll get that sort of looking really good ultimately. So we're going to have a look at the rest of the Mustang.
Yes, let's do that. So this is the Fastback that small block's going in.
That's it.
And looks like to me you're having a little bit of a sort of engine bay recondition, restoration sort of thing going on there, a little bit of a clean up.
Yeah, yeah. As I sort of said, really, the customer wants us, when you lift the bonnet, you look at it and you see, obviously you spent quite a lot of money on on engines and gearboxes and everything else going into it. So it's really got to look the part when you open the bonnet. So David's been working on this one, and he's been sanding it down and clearing it all up. So ultimately we'll get it primed and get it painted in satin black. So it looks good. And there's been a bit of wiring moving around as well to try and get it all sort of tidied up. But you want it to be done right. He's very lucky because it's a green Mustang Fastback, which is pretty desirable anyway.
Yeah, pretty famous, pretty well known.
Yeah.
Doesn't really get a Fastback that's more sort of iconic.
No. Obviously the Bullet movies have sort of set it aside, and it's the right colour. And now we're going to convert it to a manual gearbox anyway.
Perfect.
So it'll be well set up with that engine in there. So it'll be faster than it was originally. We've done the Shelby drop on it, a sort of suspension change, and that really does make a difference because they're not out of the box the greatest handling cars in the world. Doing that little bit of change does mean we can actually corner with the car quite well, which is part of when you've got that kind of power. You want to be able to go around the corner. And someone will have to road test it, obviously, to make sure it's all okay.
I mean,
for a few days.
Horrible job to have to do. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
No.
I'd imagine you'd have to do that.
Well, it's part of the privilege of being the boss, is you do get to drive some nice cars. So I'm quite looking forward to that one.
I don't get that privilege. Most of them come in on a jig and leave on a jig. I never get to drive any of them. There you are.
There you go. Got to have some perks. There's a lot of stress in the motor world, that's for sure. But one of the advantages, you do get to drive some nice cars. That come through.
So this is slightly different. I'm thinking this is a 6.2 litre LS or something like that.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Yeah, fuel injected. 6.5 litre.
Twin turbo.
Yeah. This is the other. This is the other extreme. So we do everything from really, really small cars. Let's say we've had cars from the London to Brighton in here, and everything in between. So as long as they're sort of vintage or classic, we'll get involved.
Awesome.
So this is a Morris Minor pickup, effectively.
That's what it is.
Yeah. You know now with a slightly smaller engine in this one.
Yeah.
So we did a sort of conversion from I think it was like 900cc. This one's gone up to I think it's 1098. I think is what it is.
Overboard cylinders, or
so no, it was an engine change. So the customer had another engine when we rebuilt the other engine, and we've swapped it around and we've changed the ratios and the diff so that it becomes a bit easier to drive in modern traffic. You can sort of keep up with the lorries, which is
lively
half
and
the battle.
A bit more modernised in terms of
a little bit more easier to drive. We've gone and most of the engine's all been done, and we've painted it, getting it looking right as it should.
Yeah, they're an adorable little thing.
Yeah, it's quite a cute little thing.
Love a Moggy.
Yeah, and say this same gentleman that owns the Mustang. He runs a vineyard, some absolutely beautiful wine that's coming out of there. I have asked him for some more, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's how he's paying you.
In bottles, So it's a lovely little car. So it came in for that, and it has had a few other things because when it came in, the brakes were all binding. But it had a change of gearbox to accommodate that engine, and the gear stick wouldn't fit in it. So there's various
problems on problems,
as there is with most anyone knows in the trade. You do one thing and it leads on to another.
Another.
It's just how it goes. So it's been here a little bit longer than any of us would have liked, with the greatest respect to the car and the owner. But it is now done, and I'm expecting the owner to come pick it up, say this week, and hopefully take it back and enjoy it. I think he uses it for work and for his for his business.
A fantastic car to use for advertising. I mean, it doesn't really get much sweeter and sort of perfect. Really, it's ideal. It
gets a lot of attention, and so it should. There aren't many on the road now, so
not half of them are rotten away. So it's nice to see one in such fantastic shape.
Yeah, it's a nice looking thing.
Yeah, they're all a bit shoddy, but this one's beautiful.
Yeah,
really
nice looking car.
Lovely thing.
Right, we'll go on to something with a bit bigger engine.
Bit bigger. Another bit bigger. Really cool. Now I'm getting a little bit childish with this one because this gets me excited. bright red, slammed, and a massive 454.
Enormous. So 7.5
Absolutely.
litre. Yeah, it's a real beast.
What am I saying?
Yeah. No, it's quite an interesting sort of story with this one because we get a lot of calls, a lot of inquiries about resta mods and restorations and even just repairs as well.
Yeah.
He mentioned he got this C2 Corvette and he wanted to sort of do a resta mod sort of piece of work on it. So we did a few sort of question and answers to get it sort of boxed off in terms of his inquiry. Then I got to hear, I think it was about a month later, that he was interested in buying this big block that he'd seen online, and that he thought he was going to go and buy it, and he had some questions about it and the rest of it. I'll get it sent to you, and I said, yeah, that's all fine, But I took it with a bit of a pinch of salt because
woke up next day, forgot about it, sort of thing.
Yeah. And probably a week or two later, this gentleman arrives in a van, and he's so I've got this engine for you. I'm like, I haven't ordered an engine. What engine? Yeah. So I'm like scratching my head, but as soon as I sort of saw what was in the back of his van, I was like, okay. I know what this is for now. I had to restore or repair a lot of the framework. So the framework repairs have been done on it. So that's all been welded up and made good. And we talked through a lot of options with the customer, what they wanted done. Obviously, fitting this enormous engine in the car was the primary thing. But
it's a task in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, he's also gone with a 5-speed Tremec gearbox, so you can put the power down through the gears a little bit better. He's gone with a Ride-Tech coil-over shock suspension system at the front, independent suspension system on the front, and then disc brakes because it came with drums all round. So
they wouldn't have held up very well.
No, not with that beast in it. No,
absolutely not. It's got every part of the puzzle it needs to really come together and perform ultimately as one. Yeah, I think, hasn't it?
It's going to be a handful.
Yeah, it's a ready machine. Yeah.
I drove another one of these, not with as powerful an engine as this, last year. It was probably about 400 horsepower. And that was awesome. I mean, there's a reason why Neil Armstrong had, a big block Corvette, because it was the closest thing to, riding a space shuttle on the ground as you could possibly get. And this one is, at least 100 horsepower and probably 100 pounds of torque more than that. So it's
best to have a change of pants and a glove box because.
You're going to have to hold on to it.
You're going to have to need them,
Yeah, it's going to be very, very quick. Chief test driver will have to come out again, and I'll have to make sure it's all good.
Of course, yeah.
But on a serious note, we do like to test them all because, obviously, to make sure it's all right. Because it doesn't matter how methodical you are. Yeah. Usually in test driving, we'll pick up something.
It's always something. You can never do a project and never, you can't do up that last nut and think, well, that's it, sorted and done.
We want to go back through it. We we'll get another guy to do a nut and bolt check on the whole thing. But there's usually something that comes out in a test drive. Ultimately, there aren't many of these that have been done. So to give the customer the feedback on the driving impressions once we've done it, we have a bit of an obligation to make sure when they go here that it is safe.
It's all certified, absolutely. Well, you wouldn't have it any other way.
No.
And at the end of the day,
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Really exciting. So we're now in the machine shop at Belcher's, and where do we start, James? What have we got going on here?
Well, let's look at some of the CNC machines. So we've got on here a Ford flathead V8, and we're line boring it, or setting it up to be line bored for our customer. So we do a lot of the engine works internally as it stands, particularly with a lot of the vintage cars. It's had to be re-white metalled, again, which we do in-house. And my father's actually working on one similar to this. He's retired, but he wanders around with a gin and tonic in his hands, and he's trying to also design a overhead valve cylinder head effectively for these flathead V8s as well. So he thinks he's got a way of doing it. So I'm quite excited to see what he comes up with.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
There's a
we've
lot of
we've got
creativity.
in some of the biggest valves we could find. So we brought in some Pontiac Firebird valves from the sort of 1973 era with the large 2.1-inch valves,
That's
and
huge.
he's going
Wow.
to try and design it around that so get as much mixture in it as possible. So.
Yeah.
He has designed a lot of stuff. As you'll see, we've got some cylinder heads that he's designed, and some for both Model A's and Model B's, and the
Real
flathead
early
V8s,
stuff.
early
Really
stuff. Yeah,
That's really cool.
so he's got a lot of experience with that, and so still keep picking his brains
That's great
when
to
he's
have
not hammered.
Yeah, it's great to have the roots there and the creativity, and obviously,
Yeah.
you know, it's gone on to ultimately yourself and this place.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's,
I'm not that clever. I'll pass that
He's
bit to
the
him.
brains.
Yeah, he's the certainly in terms of all that sort of design work. That's definitely his piece.
How you understand it and what any of that means and what any of that does is far beyond me. But it looks fantastic, and to be able to, you know, I understand the process of machining and obviously how important it is and everything, but it's so mathematical, and yeah, to me anyway, it's
There's a lot
stick
to
to painting, I think.
there's a lot to yeah. I'll stick to trying to run some computers and run the business. Try to. Yeah. Let's have a look at
Really
this
good.
gearbox
Yes,
we've got going
please
over
do.
here as well.
Let's go for it. You lead the way.
Okay, so this gearbox we've got here, we do a lot of the in-house gear cutting. So it's actually for effectively for a Ford V8 gearbox from the sort of 30s, 40s periods. But we've sold a few of these gearboxes for like Allards and doing the racing series. So they get used with a big Cadillac V8 engine behind them, believe it or not. So
Wow.
like a 500 horsepower Cadillac engine, and the old Ford V8 gearbox. And we've got these specially made. So they originally, some of the gears were like helicoil, but they would break under the power. So these are straight cut gears, so they're a lot stronger
Yeah.
and much more suited. And the same token, they are fitting in the same casing for all the certification that may be required. They look, to all intensive purposes, like a regular Ford gearbox, and to some degree they are.
Yeah.
But the same
just-
token, they can handle the power.
Yeah. Hence why they're used in race cars.
Yeah, hence why they're
That's
there.
a
So
fantastic connection to have. I mean, you guys must get so much, you know, such a credible thing to be able to, you know,
yeah,
do
to
and-
make
and-
it, to machine it and
yeah,
make it
all
together.
in-house.
Yeah,
It's awesome. Obviously, people love it.
Yeah, you know, we've sold a few of those, and we hope we're going to sell it. I think we've got another inquiry on another one, and then we'll have to look to do another batch of them. So yeah, it certainly keeps us out of trouble, keeps the machine shop busy in the background.
Shop busy, absolutely.
Yeah, and we do also do a series for sort of Ford Model A's and B's as well, but we're in a queue for that. I need our engineers are a bit flat out at the moment on other jobs, so we tend to do them when they're quieter, and then they'll go onto our website and we'll sell the bits for enthusiasts to put into their own cars,
Really cool.
which is good.
Such a great community building thing, and ultimately, yeah,
It's good. It gives some credibility to
Doing
the
it for
company
everyone,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff we've actually put together.
It's
Help
amazing.
sort of emphasise our expertise in those certain areas, I guess.
Yeah. Really awesome. Really
Cool.
awesome. Very nice gearbox. Lovely. So what is that industrial looking thing?
That
Looks like
one?
a steam engine or something.
Yeah, it is very, very
Very
old. Yeah, it's probably, I guess, it's sort of
Ancient.
80, 90 years old. So it is what we use to do our straight cut gear cutting.
Right.
Is a gear cutter. Very, very reliable. But it basically doesn't really go wrong. Been around a while, and I say we use it for all those straight cut gears that we do, and sometimes it gets used in machining processes. So we've had to repair for farmers and bedding food companies. They might have systems that are driven by gears,
Yeah.
and we can make items to get them out of trouble, basically, in many scenarios.
Well, they always say, I mean, well, I certainly say as well, that the old school industrial stuff, I mean, any bit of machinery, any tooling, really, you're better off getting something proper old school, proper industrial.
We wouldn't be able to get a replacement
No.
for it. That's the challenge. We just wouldn't be able to find one that's suitable. And There's many times in the past I've thought about getting rid of it when we haven't had to work for it because of the space it takes. But the last few years it's been used quite a bit again, which is good. So yeah, it justifies its keep. Which is the important bit.
You've earned it.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Let's carry on. Wow, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. It runs and runs and runs.
Goodness me. Very nice.
Yeah, so we've got, I mentioned earlier we do some cylinder heads, so I can lift these off without dropping them, which will be a start. This is a vintage Ford flathead cylinder head, 21 stud. They're cast in a local foundry, and then we do all the machining, and the design work was our own in there. So our own heads, higher compression ratio. They're obviously chemically dipped as well to make sure that we address all the porosity concerns that comes with aluminium.
As it does.
As it tends to do.
Yeah, those are really nice. And that is quite popular then with people.
Yeah, we've sold quite a lot over the years. And it's a period performance piece. So, I mean, there were, at the time, aluminium cylinder heads being made for, by sort of enthusiasts, small companies to offer it to enthusiasts. Yeah. We're sort of recreating that. If you still want the feel of that flathead engine, the original aspect of the engine, a performance piece for that period, then this is a good way of doing it at a relatively low cost. Yeah. And again, you get, it's a higher compression ratio, you can get some,
a little bit more for your input.
Yeah, they can go quite well. We did I think it was a 36 Ford a few years ago with a gentleman that competes on the Scotsman rally, and he had a 21 stud flathead V8 with these heads on it. And we did a Tremec 5-speed conversion on his vintage car. Yeah, we do a lot of those. And they're reliable. They work. They do a good job. It was a great machine. I think he came third in his class on it.
Wow.
And that was his sort of first run out with all the stuff that we'd done on it. So going very, very well. But yeah, we do all sorts of things. There's various obviously bits and bobs lying around and machines for all sorts of things. Stuff is crammed in everywhere.
Guys all know exactly what you've got where.
I don't, but some of the guys do.
That's really cool. Amazing.
Pretty good.
No, it's a fantastic piece of pieces of equipment. And
it's kind of old school. So some people don't like it, but for us, the old school working, it's what we've got. So that's what we work with really at the end of the day. It's good old school engineering. Still a little bit going on in the UK. Not much, but a little bit is still going on.
That's here at Belcher's Engineering.
Yeah, we're getting it going.
Yeah, awesome. Right then, guys, that sort of ties up today a little bit, and it's been really good to see you again, James. Thanks so much for the walk around and the tour of the place.
No problem, mate. My pleasure.
It's been great to see what you guys are getting up to. So.
No, lots going on, lots to do, but always appreciate you coming around, mate. Thanks for helping out as ever.
Great to see you. Pleasure, always. And I'll let you get on and have your lunch now and get
go
back
and eat some more. Go and eat some more.
Yeah, doing some work. So.
Lovely job.
Till next time, mate.
Yep,
see you very soon.
Yeah, nice to see you. Take care.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much. Cheers.